Hello wrestling fans and YouTube friends, welcome to my wrestling video review show. I'm here to give you some updates and tidbits of information on the wrestling world and community. I'm going to be reading some news articles and all sorts of fun stuff, so here we go. First of all, I want to point your attention to pwinsider.com, and this is an article where fans write in their questions and the PWI staff answers. Here we go. One question in particular on here I want you to read. Well, this one says, do you think that Sting could be persuaded to wrestle one big match, say against Vince McMahon at a future WrestleMania, once his TNA deal is over? Well, I'd like to address that myself. As you know, or as everyone should know by now, in this article, the staff member states that D'Angelo Dinero was quoted as saying something about Sting, this being Sting's last year in professional wrestling. So once Sting's TNA deal is over, will he ever sign with the WWE? Will he ever make a deal with Vince? Well, let's look at it. I mean, all this time, Sting's wrestling career, what, 25 plus years, Sting hasn't ever signed with Vince. He's never made a deal with Vince. But why do you suppose that is? I really don't know. Sting has remained very loyal to his companies like, you know, well, NWA, WCW, and now TNA. Sting never signed with Vince, and there's got to be a good reason for that. I'm not sure what it is, but I bet it drives Vince crazy, because Vince is most likely relentlessly pursued Sting, tried to get Sting to sign a contract, and it's never happened. So I bet that would just make Vince's ego ballistic, you know. So that would be a good storyline, like they suggest here. The storyline that Sting is the one guy that Vince could never sign. I think that would be a good storyline, but I do not like the idea of the match, Sting versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. It's just too cliche. Have every old-time wrestler that comes out for one last match, have him wrestle Vince McMahon? No, that's been done too many times now. We've already seen that happen. Well, so we're going to see that happen again with Bret Hart. We had it happen with Hulk Hogan. Then there was the match Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. Even though Shawn Michaels was far from retirement, still, that it's just become too cliche. I don't think it's very good, because I mean, we basically all know what's going to happen. The veteran wrestler, whoever it is, Bret Hart, Sting, they're going to kick Vince McMahon's ass, obviously. That's what it is, a glorified squash match with a gimmick thrown in. The only reason they do it is because it gives the other wrestler a chance to shine without having to compete against some really good talent, you know, hot talent, guys like at the top of the rankings, like John Cena and Batista, guys like that are probably too competitive for wrestlers, old-timers, to look good against, like Sting. Not to say that Sting is totally washed up. I mean, Sting has still got some fight left in him, I'm sure. But I'd much rather see Sting go up against an upcoming heel. Just, you know, that way Sting could shine on his own and he wouldn't have to fight Vince. That's kind of like a give-me match. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm interested to hear what you think about it. I doubt Sting will ever sign with WWE, though. I mean, they were talking about how also this would be a great way to get Sting into the Hall of Fame. Since Sting has never even wrestled a single WWE match, I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Even if he were to wrestle this one WrestleMania match, how can you put him in the Hall of Fame? I mean, granted, Sting deserves to be in the Hall of Fame and some kind of Hall of Fame. But, I mean, even though the WWE is the most prestigious Hall of Fame, you can't put him in there because he's wrestled 0 matches for them. It just doesn't make any sense, at least to me. Anyways, I doubt Sting will ever be in that Hall of Fame, and I doubt he will ever sign a deal with Vince. Unfortunately. Alright, let's hear what TNA President Dixie Carter has to say regarding Vince McMahon's comments about TNA. Vince McMahon commented in an online newspaper called the Acorn Online Newspaper. He said, here's his quote. I'm just going to read the quote. He says, "We're in a different business. We're in the entertainment business, and they're in the pro wrestling business." There you go, Vince using that term pro wrestling as an insult. You know, pointing the finger at TNA and saying you guys are a bunch of country hicks, hillbillies, rednecks. You know, he just kind of calls it trash TV, or which he has been down that road so many times. You know, okay, he goes on to say, "It's different markets. When they moved to Monday nights, they threw the kitchen sink at us and only did a fraction of our audience." Well, yeah, of course. I mean, they put on the best show they could, of course, because it's their debut Monday night show. They want to do really well. They want to earn that Monday night time slot, and I think they did pretty good. Even though the rating was nowhere near Monday Night Raw, of course not. It takes a long time to build up that much interest, to build up that many viewers. It just doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen with the WWE, even though they put on some really good shows, you know, back in 1997 when they were trying to build their audience. They would have some tremendous shows, but the audience just wasn't very high. It's taken them a long time to get to where they're at in the ratings. And eventually TNA will get there if they keep heading in the right direction. It's going to take a long time to work out the kinks, but don't count them out. Anyways, Vince goes on to say, "It doesn't speak well for the type of product they're trying to present with the tawdry, blood-soaked action. I don't think that's what the culture wants these days." Vince, how would you know what the public wants, what the culture wants? You are so out of touch with the wrestling fans. Vince, your product is completely unrecognizable. You have glamorized it and tried to make it fabulous, like some kind of a MTV-ish or American Idol style celebrity show. It's just deplorable. You are so out of touch with the wrestling fans and what they really want. You're trying to tell them what they want. The wrestling fans have been the same for so long. We know what we want. We know what we like. And it's not your product anymore. Even though a lot of fans are hypnotized by your product because it's so available and it's so convenient. I mean, it's an HD, which is beautiful, but it's just a bunch of HD garbage because it doesn't have any substance. I hate to tell you this. I mean, I hate to say this to all the WWE fans who will argue to death that the WWE is still the best form of entertainment for wrestling. It's really not anymore. Just because there's more money going into it and there's better production value and things like that does not make it better. Even though TNA is under heavy criticism because they, like I said, they got to work out a lot of the kinks. They still have the right idea. They still have the basic theory of what wrestling fans want. We want action, blood-soaked action, lots of it. We want it to be over the top, exciting, you know. We don't want a glamour show. We want hustle and blood and sweat. That's what we want. And unfortunately, Vince doesn't realize that anymore. He calls it tawdry and blood-soaked. Of course, wrestling has always been that way and always will be that way. Don't try to camouflage wrestling. Don't try to pretend it's something that it's not. As much as Vince tries to evolve wrestling into something else, into something that he wants it to be, something maybe that he thinks is a higher profile, more acceptable to the mainstream. Fuck that. Wrestling fans are hardcore. We're not your, PC friendly crowd. We are outstanding. We are rebellious. That's why we like wrestling. It's not normal. It's outlandish. And that's my bottom line. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me your comments. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.